Do you have insurance?
When is he gonna propose? Hey, adult already. Hello.
Hi everyone, welcome back to a brand new episode of Adulting with Former Children, now in a podcast form. So for the people who are new here, this podcast is a brand new podcast where, we share our growing pains and we talk about, the mistakes that we've made as we try to become adults.
Nicely done, Ian.
This is like take number, don't know what. But if you are one of the OGs who stayed with us from Clubhouse to podcast, welcome back and thank you for joining us again.
This is a brand new podcast under ZYRUP Media. And besides this, they're going to put out like a lot more podcasts, and this is just one of the many. And so the whole concept of this show, for those who are joining us for the first time, I have to bring you guys back to how we even started this in the first place, right? Yep. Clubhouse was becoming a thing, and then we were like thinking about what can we talk about on Clubhouse? And it just casually, we were just talking a lot about BTO and crypto.
GameStop.
Yeah, GameStop,
so
investing, and how we are becoming adults. We were like feeling super adult. But then, back then, we were still uni kids. Right, we hadn't graduated yet. Yeah, so we figured like a show like this would be really useful for those who are just like stepping into the cusp of adulthood, like we were last year. Well, we still are. Yeah, we still are.
Very early on in the process.
Yeah. So this podcast is meant to be a very relatable thing for 20-something-year-olds. It could even be like, you could be like 18-year-old, or you could be like 30 years old and still not know what the
adulting is,
what you're doing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. When you're at that stage in life, you come and listen to this podcast.
So right now we are all recording in the new ZYRUP podcast studio. So all of our mics, all of our headphones that you see are all from Audio Technica. And this space, as you can see, is nicely decked out with furniture from Ergotune and Everdesk for the desks themselves. Yeah, it's really nice. We love the space. Very, very vibey. Hope you guys like it as well.
Okay, so let's do a quick round of introductions of who we are, because I assume no one can see our faces at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Our beautiful faces.
Yeah, gorgeous. I don't know why I did my makeup. So, hi, I'm Jin, and you will recognize me because I'm the only female voice in this podcast. Very, very easy. I'm a multi-hyphenate, as in I work multiple jobs to sustain an income. Don't know if that
adulting.
Exactly.
Nice.
So I work as a radio producer in the mornings, and in the afternoons I'm just a corporate slave. I'm also, I like to call myself a Korean Singaporean. Because I was born in Korea but raised in Singapore my entire life. So you will probably find me to be the most Singaporean Korean that you know.
Love that.
Agreed?
Love that.
Nice.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, I will introduce myself. Hi everyone, I'm Yang and I'm 25 years old. So I am Gen Z when it's convenient, and I'm millennial when it's not.
Okay.
Yes. And I am a fresh university graduate, and I am an entrepreneur. I run ZYRUP Media with Clamus, and to me, I think my life priorities are making money, spending it.
Of course you need to spend, right?
Yes, I know,
for what,
that's the point, right? And finding my own version of happiness, be it in my plants, in my alcohol.
Yeah, you have an unhealthy obsession.
We will get into that, yeah.
And fish.
Yes, and fish. Not the edible kind, the ornamental kind.
Okay, sure.
Gotta be clear. Yep.
Okay, so I'm Clamus. So similar to Yang, I just graduated recently, and we're also running ZYRUP Media together. And on the side, I'm actually professionally acting as someone who pretends to get his shit together. So
oh my god.
Yeah, really.
Are you acting right now?
Don't call me out.
No, for a second I really thought that you were professionally acting, because you did. Some point in
yeah. As a pervert.
Okay, just for context, previously I had worked at a production house and they got me back as a talent to act as a pervert for Women's Day. And the worst thing I heard from my friends is like, wow, you acted the role really well. you know the exact
really
nuances.
acting?
Like, You keep that somewhere else.
Okay, enough talk. It's time to get into the meat of the episode.
That's
and
right.
today we are going to talk about growing pains because it's the first episode. I think it's very appropriate for us to talk about what growing pains are.
Yeah.
You know, as from students to working adults, I think for me, I define growing pains as, you know, the anguish that we feel when we learn how to deal with adult problems. And I think the term adult problems is something that we will jump into later because it's
So broad.
It's so broad. There's
Yeah,
so many
things.
adult problems. But yeah, maybe, you know, like finding a job, becoming independent, you know, moving out, getting married.
This episode is sort of like a prelude to whatever the hell we're gonna talk about for the rest of the series, right? And like what you said, it really mostly summarizes us having to learn how to become an adult when it wasn't really like taught to us.
Exactly.
You know?
There's no class for
Yeah.
it. Like school don't teach you how to be an adult.
Yeah,
Why?
exactly. Like the school tell you how to save your pocket money.
Yeah,
It does?
It
No,
does?
it doesn't.
When?
There's a casual comment from my English teacher last time.
Oh, it's like, oh, save money.
Yeah. Go canteen. Don't buy too much drinks. You know.
I mean, like that's the simplest way that you actually like learn like where money is used for, right?
Right.
Like
But-
before primary school, we never know like where does money come from? Like where can I spend it on? Then in primary school, you're spending it everywhere, and like
correct.
you're getting money from your parents. Then you know it's all fine and dandy until you're perhaps in poly and you're in uni, and suddenly you are working part-time jobs to get money, and you have
To spend more.
yeah. You're earning more and you're spending more, but then in the institutions that you are raised in, no one really teaches you how to manage it.
Saving habits, lor.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And I guess money is really like the biggest thing that we will be talking about. But of course, it comes with a host of other problems like relationships. How do you maintain friendships outside of school? How do you maintain relationships with your parents when you're no longer their kid? Or like when they're feeling that emptiness syndrome.
Emptiness,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I guess that's what growing pains are all about. Yeah. What about you? Clam. I'm kidding.
I think it's the pain for me is really not knowing where to start, right? And I wish there was someone who told me, like, gave me like a roadmap, you know, like, oh, you must take note of, okay, for example, like at this age, you should take note of, how much money you should be saving. Then this age, you know, like you're going to graduate from uni, like you should get a BTO. That's what I've been hearing from people, lah. But I would like to know, like, at least a general roadmap, just to know, like, for example, what I need to take note of. Once I get my house, I need to pay mortgage, I need to be paying income tax, or this kind of thing. It's like your parents never really talk to you about these kind of issues before. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, like, they come to me and like, oh, I think you need to start paying your insurance soon. Then I'm like, oh, what? You know, like there's no preempt.
Yeah.
Just suddenly, like, you're earning money, so you're going to start paying for your own insurance, that kind of thing.
Ah.
So it's good if I at least have, like, you know, at least someone to like just brief me through an adult journey in general. I'll be more prepared for it. Because now I'm just like learning through like conversations with friends.
Okay, I guess that's the thing about this podcast. Like, I feel like a lot of the adulting lessons that we learn are either, you know, you learn it firsthand or you learn it through conversations with your friends. And you know what? If you have no friends, we are here for you. Hardships for all of you guys. I do think that one of the biggest things that really gets to me from student to working adult is that we no longer get that free pass to make mistakes. Like, you know, anything that you do now is like, oh, you'll be tried as an adult. And like it's scary. Like, you think about like, oh, if you don't like pay your taxes, then you get fined. Or, you know, if you forget an assignment that is due, like super important assignment, and then, you know, maybe your pay gets docked. It's like there's no free pass to make mistakes anymore, and that's so like scary for me.
Yeah, I think there is like a grain of truth in the fact that like as students we get free pass to do you know, many things, make a couple of mistakes here and there, and you don't have any real life consequences. But then again, on one hand, that's not very true. Like I mean, like students can get into trouble and still get like real life consequences. It's just that as adults, you have to take more responsibility over your own life. Yeah, perhaps if you make a mistake as a kid, your parents can cover for you. But as soon as you are no longer a student and you're a working adult, then you cover your own ass lah, like the simply put, and that weight of responsibility, even if you haven't committed any of these mistakes, but it's that anxiety of you possibly making these mistakes that make you a little anxious and nervous about becoming older. And you just feel like you've been coddled all your life, and suddenly it's time to stop lah. I think it's a double-edged sword, you see. So just as how you have responsibility over the mistakes that you make in your life as an adult, on the flip side, you also have responsibility of how you want to make your life out to be. Like you finally have that freedom to make your own choices and choose the ways you want to go about making these choices, like the methodology and what you want to do in life. So if that makes you anxious, well, obviously it made me anxious at one point in time, but then I came to a point where I realized that, wow, I've never been freer in my life before,
It's
like,
true.
Yeah. You start developing a very conscious and very, I would say, intellectual mind.
Adulting.
Yeah.
An adult.
Yeah, it starts developing from when you're like 16, 17, 18, like you want to feel that kind of freedom. And even like outside of Asian societies, well, let's say like Western societies, it's completely normal for an 18-year-old to live by themselves, Yeah, so we have developed that kind of mind since we are like 17, 18. And look at us now, we are 24, 25. We are actually living that reality and we are kind of lost. Yeah. So, which is why, bringing back to base one of why we started this podcast in the first place, right? Yeah. The transition from being an actual student to a working adult is a double-edged sword. You can either choose to feel very anxious and very reluctant and almost, what's that word? Avoidant about it. Or you can choose to like face it and face it and like plan your life properly as soon as you can, so that you don't make these anxiety-ridden mistakes lah.
The endless possibility of what you can do and what you don't have to do as an adult, I think it's there, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, we are still staying with our parents who have, I guess, an expectation of what an adult is or what you should be as an adult. I guess this brings us to our next topic, where what do you guys count as being an adult? Because the way that you want to be an adult might be different from the way that your parents want you to be an adult.
Okay, I have a great I don't know if it's great, but the one way that I differentiate myself as a child or as an adult is that I don't ask my parents for permission. Yeah, I tell them what I'm going to do. So, I mean, unless it's really like I really need their help, then like I'll ask their permission to like do things and then get their help on things. But previously when I was, let's say I was still a student, I was still a kid and stuff, I would ask my parents permission to stay out till like 11 p.m. Yeah, can I stay out till 11 p.m.? Now...
Cannot.
No. I don't care whether they say can or not. Now I just tell them I'm coming home at 11 p.m.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think to me that's the difference. I no longer ask for permission. I tell them of my choices.
Then they appreciate that you at least updating them.
Yeah.
Then they'll be like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Like,
So
sure.
yeah, whether they accept it or not, it's not my problem. It's just that I'm just telling you what I'm going to do. I keep you in the loop, but I don't ask for your permission anymore.
But how did they
very true.
take it though? I'm pretty sure there was like a transition period.
You know what? It was so natural that, like it just never... I don't think they ever noticed it as well. Yeah, I just remember that when I first got my driver's license and I was driving my parents' car, I would be very like hesitant to ask them like, can I drive the car out? And it's for legitimate reasons. Like I have to really carry heavy stuff from school. I have to move from school and stuff. So it would be great if I had the car. It would be financially wise for me to use the car that day because I wouldn't have to blow $50 on a cab, So I would be so scared to ask them like, can I take the car out for the day? But then soon, that can I take a car out for the day became, I'm taking the car out for today.
Yeah, like after a while, like they seem to be okay with it. Like you judge the reactions.
Yeah,
and after it's
yeah,
like, okay,
exactly.
Sure, like natural, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess
Correct,
like initially they would have been like, not today lah. How about I drive you instead? And okay, that's the first level. And then the second level is, okay, yeah, you can take the car. And then the third level is, yes. You know, their answers get shorter and shorter, and their approval or their permission to do things become less important to you, lah. I would say. I mean, it's still important that they validate you and they accept you, but it doesn't define you or the things that you do. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah. So for me, that's the biggest difference. I tell them instead of asking for permission. But of course, I don't do like really wild stuff lah. Like I'm responsible, you know. Like I do things that are reasonably understandable to them. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's for me. Yeah.
Cool.
Clem?
I think
Ian?
I did have my like our boys to men moment. You know, like going into army and coming out, they treat you a bit differently because now that you are in the army, I guess they give you a little bit more trust. You say like, oh, today I'm booking out at this timing, and then after that it's like, oh, tonight I'm coming home at this time, and then after that it's like, oh, I'm going out with my friends, I'm coming home at this time. It's no longer like I'm going out with my friends tonight, can or not kind of things. Like, oh, I don't want to eat dinner today because I'm booking out late, but I'm going out with my friends after I book out. So our boys to men.
Oh, so
moment.
wait,
I
so
guess.
that's a thing in Singapore?
I guess so. Clemens, do you have the same experience?
Actually, before army, I actually planned like a trip with my JC friends to go to Krabi. I thought it'd be okay lah, cause I'm going to army and everything. Like a bit older, and I was like, I think 18 already, right?
Right.
And they just straight out say no. Yeah, literally. So then, but afterwards, when I finished army, right, and I told them, oh, I want to go to Bali with my NS friends. And they said okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think because they're very used to me not being at home, and they feel like I can manage myself more.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's the fear. Like they don't know whether you can take care of yourself. But then after you go through army, you have to be able to take care of yourself. So when you come out, they're like, I mean, if they can take care of themselves during army, they'll be fine. So I think that's the mentality. But yeah, I mean, we still do need to talk about, I guess, our own expectations of what we define as being an adult. Because I think we've talked a lot about what our parents want for us. And I think for parents, they want us to be safe, or they want us to be able to take care of ourselves. And I think that's like the bare minimum of being an adult, right? I think being an adult is also thinking about the future, not just about today and tomorrow, thinking about buying a house,
Yeah, buying a house,
getting married,
so much.
being a productive member of society.
Not being a menace.
Yeah. Yes.
So I guess once you have fulfilled the basic necessities of you being able to adult, what kind of adult do you want to be?
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah,
Having
so-
the luxury to do that.
Yeah. I would say that there are many right ways, and I can't really say that there are wrong ways. Yeah.
Breaking the law.
I okay like I mean that's a very obvious thing, but
yeah.
I feel like you shouldn't pressure yourself too much about the fact that you're an adult and you cannot make mistakes anymore. Like if anything, I feel like you can make the mistakes, but make sure that you can like save your ass every time you do it lah. Like I am perfectly fine with making mistakes and stuff, and if it gets me fired from my job, okay, sure, like that's super duper unfortunate and touch wood, choi. I never want to be fired from
Real
my
wood.
job. Choi. But really, like, what's the worst that can happen?
That's true. I
Yeah.
think maybe the fears are quite unfounded. It's not that you cannot make mistakes. It's
Yeah.
not that you can't make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
It's that you just have to face the consequences of your actions. And then after that, you are free to make more mistakes
Yeah.
or to not make more mistakes.
to learn from it lah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the right way to be an adult to me is to make your mistakes, admit to your mistakes, and
Learn
fix your
from them.
mistakes.
Fix their mistakes.
And learn from it. So that's to me the most adult thing that you can do. Like besides like, you know, having your shit together financially, having your relationships together. But most importantly, I think it's the mentality that when you make a mistake, you are completely capable of like, propping yourself back up and moving forward despite the mistake. Am I very philosophical here?
I'm like going quite deep, under the water. So I'm like, trying to understand.
I love it. Okay, thank you, Jin, for that. Oh my god, so philosophical.
You sound so
Drowning.
sarcastic.
I'm drowning.
I
No,
hate
no,
you.
I'm not.
I'm not.
Okay, yeah, it did. Okay, I'm sorry. It did sound very sexy. Okay. After the break, let's talk about, getting our head in the game. The adult game. Is it a game?
Like getting our head in the game, the adult mentality. Yeah, like just delving into what is this mentality that we speak of.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, and is it scientifically backed? No, it's not.
It might be.
All right, guys, thank you for that. I think we've shared enough, but right now, let's go for a break.
All right, and we're back. Earlier on, we were just talking about the adult mentality. What is the kind of like mentality you need to have as an adult? And I guess like to some people, it comes almost naturally, but to others, sometimes it's not natural, I guess. For the most part, I think we struggle with the idea of this new identity that we have to embrace for the rest of our lives. Because you're a kid for like a couple of years and you're an adult for the rest of your life after 18. So really, that's
Correct.
like 4/5 of our entire lives just being an adult, right? How do we start embracing that, and how do we not think so hard about it? Like it's really just it's like another 60-70 years ahead of us. How do we
I
So
hope
long.
not.
why? I want to live long.
I don't want to be 90.
Oh, why not?
Max 80 for me.
Okay, fine. We're not getting there, but we're not talking about when we want to die, okay? Like, but we basically
Long way
coming to terms with the fact that we have decades more to live.
Exactly.
And how do we accept that, and how do we even like begin to navigate this next phase in our lives, which is pretty much
The last phase?
the
It feels like it's the last phase, and I get so much like, I wouldn't call it anxiety, but it's like, oh my god, is this really what I'm gonna be for the rest of my life? Because I feel like I haven't gotten it together, and it's like, oh my god, another 70 years of this. And that's so
that's
scary, right?
what we call existential dread.
You know what? I think I know what this is.
What?
It's when you are turning the big three,
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh shit, I'm 30. I need to have my life together.
When you haven't yet.
It's
lah,
like
right?
this conversation, but for people who are looking at their 50-year-old adults, and it's like, oh my god, my parents are retired.
Oh my
yes.
god!
It's really another phase of life.
It's exactly
Yeah.
it's another transition into another phase of life.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
Claire, maybe you want to tell us what is after 33.
correct. So 33 to 40, right, is called settling down.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So I think that's when you really like, have family and everything. Then to 40 to 45, you're going through the midlife transition. 45 to 50, you're entering middle adulthood.
45 to 50.
Yeah, what the hell, right?
Only in the middle.
Then so you're 60 plus, right? It's like late adulthood already. And then that's when you got your whole family tree planned out already. You're just like chilling at home, going for... I hope so. I hope
when you're at
that's a
60,
good
your family
retirement.
tree is not a plan and it's already in action.
correct. So you already have it all out already,
All out. Okay,
Correct.
I get it.
The
I
roots
get
there,
it.
you know?
Oh,
Okay.
okay. That's interesting. Yeah.
Correct.
No, but I love how there's no crisis in any of those stages. Like
I guess it's a transition if it's
It's an
successful.
ongoing thing. It's an ongoing thing.
And it's a crisis if you don't know what you're doing.
yeah.
So I mean, it's a good thing. I guess we can save all our anxiety for when we are 60 and we are in our actual last stage of our life.
Yeah, just like, avoidance is key.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm just kidding,
Avoidance
I'm
is
just kidding.
key. Not
Yeah.
a takeaway to not take away from today's episode.
So I guess perhaps like where you're bringing us to, Clem, is the fact that we are still early.
Correct.
It's not too late for us.
It's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
Adult. Like, it doesn't mean like you reach 35, you're earning like what 5 figures and you're like adult already, you know?
Yeah. That's
You're constantly
true.
learning.
Yeah.
Because you need to plan, for example, like your kids, what do they have to do, then like that kind of thing. I think it's just ongoing. Even my parents are still adulting, I would say.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. No, that's a nice way to think about it. Like I think it almost brings us back to the whole point about how we were saying you can make mistakes. Yeah. So perhaps the reassuring thing about this seasons of life theory.
Seasons of life.
So
By
sweet.
Devin
Yes.
Levinson.
So the reassuring thing is that it's not too late for all of us.
It's
Correct,
never
correct.
too
It's
late.
never too late.
It's never too late.
Yeah.
You're always at the beginning or at the end of a certain phase and starting a new one.
You're constantly learning how to adult till you know.
Die.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I like
Till you
that.
die.
I like
Unless
that.
you don't have your shit together at 60 years old and you're like,
That's really that's really on you. Really.
Wow.
Later I'm at 60. I'm like shit. What did I
6
say?
years old. Oh my goodness, how do I earn money?
I think we can just continue to worry about the next 10 years, maybe until when we're 30, 35. I think, you know what? I think that should be enough to worry about for now.
Correct. Just
As
one step at a
adults.
time. You know?
One step
it's
at
quite
a
daunting
time.
if you just like.
All right. Okay. I think that's it for today. We've talked enough. That was a really long episode of half complaining, half being, anxious, and also a little bit of inspiring stuff, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Philosophy.
Correct. I'm actually very curious to hear what people who have to say about this as well.
Okay, so I think that pretty much wraps up our first episode. I didn't think that we would be talking for so long. It's supposed to be like a prelude to the whole podcast series, but yeah, we're working on things, and I think this was a pretty nice chit chat about how we are entering this phase in our lives and how we're going to navigate it.
Correct.
And I look forward to talking about more #adulting stuff with y'all.
Awesome. I am really excited. And we will see you guys next week, where we will talk about what we regret about going to university. Stay tuned for some juice.
and tea, man.
Okay, guys, before we go, I would like to remind everyone listening in, remember to follow us on Spotify, subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcast or wherever you get your podcast, leave us a good review. And oh my God, if you can post it on your Instagram story, we will be very grateful.
Yeah, share it to all your friends who are like struggling with adulting.
Oh my God, send it
or
to your
going
friends.
to adulting, you know?
Yeah, you know the guy who like want to get married but like haven't get married yet. Send this podcast to them.
Correct.
I don't know.
It's time.
We haven't even gotten there yet.
Soon.
Yeah.
Okay. When we get there, send it to them.
Correct. And also, follow us on Instagram as well at ZYRUP Media.
That's ZYRUP
That's
ZYRUP
ZYRUP,
Media.
not ZYRUP, ZYRUP. Okay. And also our personal handles, which will be put in the description below.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess it'll
description
be
below.
somewhere.
It'll be
But
Some
just
first
make sure that you follow ZYRUP Media because that's where all the updates about this podcast is going to be.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah. Once again, thank you for listening to Adulting with Former Children, and till the next one. Do you have insurance? When is he gonna propose?
Hey, adult already. Hello.